All right, let's talk about interviewing. It's something that a lot of people struggle with. You know, it seems to be that people fall in one of two categories. They're either born interviewers, like they can walk into any room, talk to any person, they can nail the interview, answer any question. And then there's the other half of people who just really struggle with it. But the good thing is anyone can become a good interviewer with practice. One thing I always suggest to our students is if you are going for an interview that we set up for you, or even one we didn't, and you are fearful of what they're going to ask, or you have any nervousness whatsoever, give us a call. Schedule a one-on-one appointment with one of our instructors so we can go over a couple questions with you. You know, we'll do a little role play so you can get accustomed to what they're going to be trying to ask you, and you can have answers at the ready, okay? Because the truth is, one of the biggest impediments to our job placement assistance program is the actual interview itself. Because we can do a lot of the work for you. We can teach you how to become an F&I manager. We can teach you how to do the work of an F&I manager. You can have all the knowledge in your brain. Our career development team can actually get you the interview, so where all you have to do is walk in and nail it to get the job. But unless you actually nail the interview, everything done before that was just, it doesn't matter. So we need to talk about interviews a little bit here. And the number one thing I want to talk about is, and this is the mistake that most people make when they go from sales to finance, is they talk about their sales numbers. I sold 20 cars a month. I averaged X per unit. I got this award from Toyota, or this award for Honda, or Ford recognized me in this way. And here's what the general manager is hearing. This guy's good at sales. This gal's good at sales. I want to hire them in sales. You're telling them what you're good at, and they're thinking in their head, let me put them where they are good at. If you are at an F&I interview, you should be talking about F&I. Now, if they specifically ask, how did you do in sales? You could say, you know, Greg, I did great in sales. I do great in everything that I put my mind to. Whatever position I have ever been put at in a dealership, I have flourished. And now I'm ready to take over an F&I office and to absolutely crush it out of the park for you. That's how you handle that question, right? You don't go into how many units you sold. You don't go into telling them that you averaged X per unit or you got this award or that award. That doesn't matter. We're here to talk about finance and insurance and what you can do for that dealership in a finance and insurance capacity, because I guarantee you if you start talking about sales and how good you are at sales, you will end up right back on that sales floor, because that's what you're good at. Number two thing that you want to keep in mind is depending on your past is how you want to talk about your experience in F&I. So if you were a previous F&I manager, great. Talk about your previous F&I job. If you have only been in the sales department, for example, or you haven't been in a dealership at all, then what you're going to want to focus on is not your experience. You want to focus on your education. It's no different than someone just graduating from the University of Buffalo or Cornell or whatever it may be, and they're trying to land that first high-paying job. They're going to talk about their education, where they graduated from, what they learned, how the person who's interviewing can be comfortable putting you in that seat, right? So a lot of questions we get are, and this is usually before they're hired, and then 2 weeks later we get them hired and they're all happy. But a lot of the questions we get are, I have no experience, and this job says experience. This job says 8 years of experience. This job says must have experience. Let me tell you something. There are thousands of F&I managers in this world right now. Most dealerships have between 2 and 8 of them, and you see how many dealerships you pass as you go down the street. They're on all sides. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of F&I managers. Guess what? They all got their first job having no experience. No one was born with F&I experience. They had to get that first F&I job. So if you think that just because you see a couple ads that say must have experience, that you can't get a job without experience, you're setting yourself up for fail with that mindset, okay? what you want to talk about is what you know in your education. Greg, Rhonda, whoever you're talking to, who is interviewing you, I graduated from finance manager training with 92% final test score. I know compliance. I know menu selling. I know objection handling. I was taught by the best F&I school the nation has to offer. They set up this interview, as you know. You know them. I learned and I dominated it. I took notes. I still have the workbooks. I am ready to take over your F&I office and do everything that you need me to do. So just to recap, number one, you don't want to talk about your sales accomplishments. You're at an F&I interview. Number two, if you have F&I experience, great, talk about it. But if you don't, which is a lot of people don't, you want to talk about what you know, your education, and what you learned. Again, you're no longer a salesperson, don't talk about that. Lastly, let's move on to number three. Before you go into that interview, the night before, the day before, whatever, if you're struggling with it, if you're nervous, if you don't know how you're going to answer the questions, I want you to sit in front of a mirror and I want you to answer the toughest questions that you can think of. Because obviously you're nervous for a certain reason. You're nervous because you don't have the experience. You're nervous because the ad said they'll only hire someone with 10 years or whatever it is that's making you nervous. I want you to confront it. I want you to sit down in front of that mirror and I want you to pretend like the interviewer is asking you that tough question that you're self-conscious about. And I want you to come up with 10 different ways to respond to it. And once you come up with those 10 different ways, you're going to find one that sounds really good. You're going to find one that clicks. You're going to find one that resonates with you in your soul. And once you find that one, you can use it in the interview. And if it resonates with you, trust me, it will resonate with them. They will feed off of you. They will feel how you're feeling. Lastly, number four, confidence. If you walk into that interview meek and scared and nervous, they're going to feel that. Trust me, I was a store manager at a dealership for many, many years. I had to hire salespeople. I had to hire title clerks. I had to hire lot attendants. I had to hire people to stock my dealership. And let me tell you, I could always feel when they're scared. I could always feel when they're nervous. You need to go into that interview with confidence. You have to know that you know what you're talking about. And if you don't know that you know what you're talking about, you need to go back to Module 1 and you need to go through everything again. Because you need to know it like the back of your hand. I really want to emphasize that. It's not something where you have to hear the question, filter it through your brain, try to find that, that storage unit somewhere that you have it stuck up there. No, it needs to be on the tip of your tongue because you know it that well. For those of you who know sports, if I asked you who your quarterback was, you could say it like that. For those of you who know, let's say music, if I asked you to play a C note, you could do it like that. It needs to be that quick and that good and that easy. Because if the interviewer asks you a question and they see that in your brain, you're ruffling through papers trying to find the answer to it. You're trying to go back to Module 2 in your brain and remember what it said. You've already lost. Before you go to the interview, you need to know what you're talking about. You need to know the material we taught you inside and out. If you're just flying through the videos, flying through the modules, just to get it done, then you don't know the material inside and out. And when they ask you a question on the fly in the interview, you're going to stumble and then you're just not going to get hired. Go in there with confidence and go in there knowing what you're talking about. Go in there knowing that you have the answers. Go in there knowing that you gave your absolute 100% best in this program and that you are representing your class in a positive light. If there are any more questions you have about interviewing, do not hesitate to reach out to us. Call us 855-212-1765, extension 2, or go to the support tab on the left, click on support, create a new ticket, or go to the appointment tab, create an appointment, set a time and date. We'll call you and we'll go over it with you. Whatever you need, we are here for.